review movies anymore? Do you even watch movies anymore?
It's been a combination of being busy and not excited to watch anything.
Well, just to remind you and your viewers, not only do you have an obligation to Morbidly Beautiful, the greatest horror network on YouTube, but you're cursed. I haunt you, and you have to watch these movies.
Well, I finally caught up on Severance. There's been a lot of basketball on.
Come on, man, what about Companion? Haven't you even seen Companion? Like the one horror movie everybody said was good in January.
Companion. I just know that Zach Krager from Barbarian's involved.
Okay, well, there you go. That's a start. Why don't you go watch Companion?
Yeah, I'll check it out.
Don't act like you're doing any favors for me, motherfucker.
No spoilers yet, I promise, but Drew Hancock wrote and directed Companion. This is his feature film debut. He's done a lot of television, including Suburgatory. Zach Krager of The Whitest Kids You Know and Barbarian is a producer and was originally attached to direct, but thought that Drew Hancock should direct his own script. This stars Sophie Thatcher from Yellow Jackets and Heretic, and Jack Quaid, who you may have seen in a Scream movie or two. Okay, slightly more spoiling. I'm not going to tell the plot, but I am going to give my analogy, which kind of pitches the premise. What movies this reminds me of. Here we go. This is Steven Spielberg's AI, artificial intelligence, meets Coralie Farjah's Revenge, meets You're Next. It's definitely a love story, but it's also a crime thriller with some horror slasher goriness, with a sci-fi twist, and I say you should go see this movie, but if you're going to watch this review, we're gonna have to get a little bit more into the plot now. So before we cross that point of no return, let's say it, great performances, great special effects and gore, very suspenseful, keeps you guessing, throws the twists your way, satisfying ending, and even comedy beats that you might not have expected. I want to talk a little bit about the comedy before we get more into spoiler territory. I went into this thinking it was going to be a pretty scary thriller, but it was really funny. It occurred to me, like, thinking about things like Reanimator and Frankenhooker, and all the way to, like, Abigail, which was a year ago. And Abigail leans a bit on the snarky side. It's not always my cup of tea, but I do like what Radio Silence does. I actually am somebody who liked the most recent Scream movies. And it's not just Jack Quaid's presence here that reminded me of that, but this struck the comic tones to me a lot better. And it makes sense that Zach Krager was attached. Hancock is a comedy writer who wanted to do other things and wrote this to have that opportunity. He said as such in interviews. I haven't seen Suburgatory in like 10 years. But I remember enjoying that show. And so it makes sense to me that this would also hit my funny bone the right way. But no, there's one particular line reading that Jack Quaid gives as Josh, where he says a word and takes a beat and smirks, realizing the kind of double meaning of what he just said. You'll know it when you see it. And it's such a... You get to know the character right there. If you don't already, like, you get a deeper glimpse into who his character is with that little ha-ha to himself that he stifles. Okay, so not quite in spoiler territory yet. I've given you the vibe of what the movie is based on analogy, and now I'm going to give you a bit of a log line. Jack Quaid and Sophie Thatcher, Josh and Iris, are a couple, and they go on a remote getaway with friends. And you begin to think, well, maybe this is going to be kind of a comedy of manners, right? Maybe a little bit of Who Invited Them, or like Sissy, the Australian horror film that came out a couple years ago, where it's going to be about how personalities kind of clash. But then we get into really what's going on. And I think at this point, I have to say, spoilers. So there's robots involved, right? Androids, cyborgs, whatever the sci-fi terminology is. And you get a hint of it, well, not just from the marketing and the trailers. Like, if you've seen all that, then you know. I actually tried to remove visuals and cues from my use of the trailer to help keep it a little bit mystery. But there is a robot amongst them. And the ethics of that are one of the themes, but also really the robot is a stand-in for how one can be dehumanized in a relationship. And this could have been a very different movie. This could have been a Megan. This could have been about robot turns evil. And that's not what this is. This is about agency, yes, but it's not a robot taking over the world. It's a robot being used and manipulated in service of a crime. And that was what the surprising part was for me. That's where we get into kind of from dusk till dawn territory, where I think I'm going to watch one movie, but nope, we're watching another kind of genre movie, which I enjoyed that. I'd also liken it to the twist in Orphan First Kill. It's a different situation. Orphan First Kill was a prologue, and it was like, well, how can you really have any surprises in a prologue? Oh, you can, and that's what people found brilliant about that movie. And in that sense, the movie gives itself away in the first minute or so when Sophie Thatcher's narration talks about, on this day, this thing happens. And you're like, oh, okay. Well, I guess we're just revealing it right from the get-go. And but it's like, how do we get from point A to point B? And there's a whole bunch of stuff there that you didn't see coming. And again, with the humor being an aspect of it that I didn't expect, the whole movie really was a wonderful surprise. The supporting cast is good. I haven't watched What We Do in the Shadows, but I know everybody loves that guy from What We Do in the Shadows. I know Lucas Gage from Fargo. That's what I had seen him in, the television series, the most recent season. And he was great in this. Really impressed me. In fact, I would say a testament to how good this movie is. I want to go see other stuff with these folks in it. I don't know Sophie Thatcher's work. I only know Jack Quaid from Red Letter Media and Scream. I haven't even seen The Boys. I haven't seen other stuff he's in. I understand he's going to be in Novocaine. So, okay. I like these folks in this. I'll go see them in other stuff. That's always a good sign when they're used well, the cast. By the way, before I forget, somebody please tell me if the red car in this movie is the same as Cameron's dad's car in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, because if it is, then obviously an homage. Mishmash of genres, like I said, sci-fi, crime, thriller. Is it horror? I think it counts. I think when you see some of the damage that gets done to people's bodies in this, it counts. And if folks are running around with knives, that counts, I think. So it's not a giallo, but it's a horror. And yeah, a great debut by Drew Hancock. Would love to see what else he does. Whether he goes more into horror, whether he goes more into thriller, if everything also just maintains. I like his comedy. Again, I don't always like horror comedy. Some of it is bad. Some of it's not funny. Or some of it is just, I find it distracting. This is perfect. It's not the total wacky over the top of like I said, a Frankenhooker. And there's going to be obvious parallels you'll see between why I said Frankenhooker and this. But Reanimator is where I thought like carrying that tradition of clever humor under the horror. I liked it. You should see it. And hopefully the box that I inherited with a curse that forces me to watch and review movies, but I don't mind, is satisfied for now, and we'll see what other movies I can check out this year. These are going to be specials. They're going to be a little fewer and further between than maybe in past years. But I enjoy my relationship with the Morbidly Beautiful Network, and I enjoy telling you about movies. Go check out the other stuff I do in life at brodyhubbard.com and shakytownradio.com. And if you live in Arizona and are part of the local horror community there, hopefully you'll see me bounce around a little bit more this year. So until then, I remain Hub.
Brody Hubbard's Video of the Damned is presented by the Morbidly Beautiful Network, the best horror network on YouTube. Check out everything they're doing at morbidlybeautiful.com.